Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and I know that when you see these sunglasses on my face, you're hoping that this video is going to have an intro where I pretend to be the Netmarble CEO and I roast the players and laugh at them, and I laugh at Gore, and I explain how they made this perfectly weak character that is so difficult to critique and yet so lackluster and boring. He's like human tofu. Unfortunately, that's exactly why I can't wear these sunglasses and make that video, because it's just not going to make sense. So we're going to do a regular review here of Gore. I know you're probably hoping to see other content at this point. You want to see a follow-up video on Toxin. You want to see a video about Scream, because I haven't covered her at all. Where's Agent Venom, Alex? What about the Hulk Tier 4 massive buff that he got? What about Alliance Battle Legend and how amazing Iron Man is for that? There's a lot of content to get to, don't get me wrong. But this Gore thing needs to be done now rather than later for two reasons. For one, the sooner we can put a fire to the devs' feet, the sooner, hopefully, we can get a fix for Gore. And I say hopefully because I know full well that we may not get one. So I wanted to start off the video with that piece of hope, but also with that cold glass of reality to the face. We got no rework for Storm. We got no rework for Deadpool when he got his April Fool's uniform. We got no Doctor Strange, zombie uniform, and so on and so forth. So I think we're, staring down the barrel of a gun here. We may not get a rework for Gore. However, I said there were two things that made it important to do the Gore video now. And the second one is that Commander very recently made a video. And unlike Beast Mode and I and other content creators, Commander is very slow to make his videos, but he does them meticulously, like the tortoise that eventually wins the race. So I wanted to sort of piggyback off of his video from yesterday. If you haven't seen it, I'll link down below in the description to it. It's fantastic. And if you guys don't know who Commander is, he is a PvP focused whale juggernaut of a player. And so when he says a character is good for PvP, everyone, including myself, takes note. And when he says that a character is bad for PvP, we also, by the same token, take note. And so when he covers Gore in his video and he details step by step, painful stroke by painful stroke, how Gore is so close and yet so far from being a meta villain for PvP, it really hits home. And so rather than spending part of my video documenting the PvP stuff, I can just refer to his video and basically have a much stronger 1-2 punch where he's doing the PvP side, I'm doing the PvE side, and hopefully we can knock some sense into the devs. Just to give you a summarized version of what I think Commander is going to say, keep in mind I do not have a PvP build on my Gore and I have not tried him very much in PvP at all. However, it's hard to deny all of the notes and all of the crumbs that the devs led us to and sort of used to lead us to this path of PvP. His leadership increases villains' HP. HP is key for PvP, and it has the debuff ability, which is like literally the quintessential PvP ability. His passive, super armor, all defense. Also a auto heal, auto healing, super armor, all defense. Those are all hallmarks of, you guessed it, PvP. What about his tier 2 passive, Alex? Increases pierce damage. Okay, that's mostly for PvE. 40% damage reduction, and an 80% revive. Those are really good for, say it with me now, PvP. But again, as Commander will so eloquently explain in his video, there is no other PvP ability here. He has all of the other abilities that you need, like accumulation, all defense down, frenzy buff, but where's the iframe ignore? Where's the reflect or reflect reduction? He doesn't necessarily need all of these things, and he has some super armor or like super guard break on some of his skills. You can see super guard break on 3 and 4, but without iframe ignore, Gore is going to do his best statue impression. And when I say statue pause impression, I'm pausing because he's dying in between and being revived. But literally, he's just going to be a statue, as he looks so statuesque already in this dull gray pattern, that he's just going to stand there not being able to do anything because the enemy is iframing and the enemy is doing their skills, and then he just gets bopped and he gets one-shotted. He'll get one-shotted by Sentry. He'll get one-shotted by Adam and Hulk and Thanos and Emma and everybody. He's literally, in Commander's words, he is literally a glorified version of Molecule Man. And that's pretty scathing comparison. That's a pretty scathing comparison considering that Molecule Man is as expensive as he is and was such a letdown. But he came out 2 years ago. Molecule Man came out 2 years ago. So the following comparison that I'm about to make to Gore is for characters that are almost 2 years old. In this case, the guy that he got his sword from, Null. Yes, that's right. Gore is a little bit better than Null for PvE content. And I know you're probably looking at yourself right now and saying, Alex, are you serious? Well, let's cut to the footage. Here we are on stage 39 of Null, testing Gore, the newest tier 4 villain and native tier 3 world boss legend. The most difficult world boss legend in the game, arguably the most difficult content in the game, period. And I know what you're thinking, stage 39, that's not a really high stage, Alex, what's going on? Well, that's what's going on. Really, Gore is not going to be able to compete with tier 4 characters who can easily crush stage 50, 60, 70 without breaking a sweat. Gore is not only going to be sweating, but he's also just going to be failing. You know, he may survive, and that's one of the ways that you cannot critique him, because he's certainly going to survive, but he's not going to be able to do nearly enough damage, as you can clearly see. So that's sort of the first thing that I want to acknowledge about this review, is that it's very difficult to critique Gore like we did with Thena, because Thena was obviously underpowered both offensively and defensively, whereas Gore is not underpowered offensively, he's just not powered. He's just very, very average and very run-of-the-mill as far as his damage goes. And again, some people will point to that and say, well, that's not a bad thing. He shouldn't be too overpowered. But then on the other hand, like, what's the point of building him? Really, no, answer me. What is the point of building him when he can barely do the content now that Null could do a year ago? And this is the thing, right? What was the point of waiting? As players, what was the point of waiting this long for a character that is doing the same content? I did this stage, I did stage 39 with Null like over a year ago, right? Back in 2021, you know, midway through the year. And I crushed it, right? Like, well, he didn't crush it necessarily, but he got through it. And look, like, this damage is pathetic, right? It's absolutely pathetic, you know, and the good things about his rotation are they actually end up being negatives for PvE. I honestly do not think he's a PvE character, so I'm not going to take the PvE showcase that seriously, because it's pretty obvious to me that some dev along the way just obviously forgot to give him, you know, iframe ignore. Like, that's really almost all he needs is iframe ignore. So I don't want to make this a singular topic, but it's really painful to see, like, okay, Electro, right? Electro can easily do this stage. Gore is gonna struggle. He's gonna struggle doing this stage. So why would you invest in him? Because he has healing? So does Hulk. Just get Hulk. Because he looks cool? No, he doesn't. He looks like he's emaciated, right? He looks like he has an eating disorder. And not to joke about eating disorders, but the character model just does not instill fear. And that may be a Christian Bale thing, but they could have done something about his forehead or whatever. They could have made him a little bit more muscular. There's just nothing here, right? There's nothing drawing you to the character besides just that it is Gore. And that's really not good enough, right? Gore is not as cool as Mephisto. He's not even as cool as Null. He's basically just a shittier version of Null, because he doesn't have a cool bloody sword. He doesn't have cool, you know, necro dragons, symbiote dragons, right? And he's not related to Venom and stuff. Who is Gore related to? Well, apparently Thor, if you've seen the new movie, but that's besides the point, because we're not talking about the things that are wrong with him. We're trying to talk about what's good about him. But honestly, it's hard to find what's good about him. As far as the rotation goes, if you saw from the clip there, I am doing a 4 delayed cancel, 3 cancel 5. You could technically slide in the 2 as well, but I find that it's very easy to miss your proc. And then I also find that on the follow-up rotation, when you do 4, 3, 5, 6, it is also easy to miss your proc. It is nice to see that they did give him a couple of interesting abilities. For example, his AoE on his tier 3 is very, very huge. And so you can see here, if I'm standing right here in the middle and I pop the tier 3, almost everyone is getting hit and they're getting sucked into the middle. This is really cool, and this will probably be helpful for certain different game modes. But again, his damage doesn't compete with new characters. His damage does not compete with tier 4s at all. His damage is not even going to compete with level 80s. So really, what was the point, right? I ask you, what was the point? Okay, so here's the devs thinking in their timeline. We released Sentry, you know, before we released tier 4s, whatever, blah, blah, blah. We released Sentry as the first native tier 3. He dominates PvP. Okay, cool. Then we released Null a couple months later. He doesn't dominate PvP, but he dominates PvE. Cool. Then a few months after that, we released Mephisto, and he dominates PvE even harder than Null. That was back in April or May of 2021, so over a year ago. So in the span of 3 months or 4 months, they were able to power creep this native tier 3 with this native tier 3 in just a couple of months. Let's say 4 months or 5 months. But now you have triple the time. You have about 15 months. You have over a year, and you're telling me that Mephisto is stronger than Gore? You're joking me, right? No, we're not joking you. Mephisto is stronger than Gore. So what is the point? I ask you, what is the point? If you want someone for PvP, there you go. If you want someone for PvE, there you go. If you want to waste your resources on a character that's clearly underpowered, there you go. And that's really all I have to say. There's no sense in giving him CTPs and really trying to push it because he's not even close. He's not even close. And with the way that restrictions work in things like World Boss Legend, I'm not even going to talk about like Alliance Legend and GBR. He doesn't have guaranteed crit rate, so he can't use a CTP of Rage correctly anyways, right? So you're going to go back to World Boss Legend. Okay, what stage can he do for Gore against himself? 9. Maybe 14. And then what? Human? Hero? Nope. Female? Nope. And then, leadership? Nope. Villain? You think he's going to do 30 for villain? He can't even deal damage. Every attack is dodged. You have to be level 80 and up. And again, the devs knew this, right? They knew this was going to happen. What about Ultron? Oh, you can go to 55 Ultron. Awesome. He has pure evil. Brody, let me break it to you. He has pure evil. Yes. Can he do it? No, he can't do it. You guys want to see how much of a train wreck this is about to be? Check this out. This is like horrendous times an infinity. This is like infinity horrendous. Again, I know he doesn't have a CTP, but if you seriously thought that a CTP was going to save him, you are sorely mistaken. He's not even tickling Ultron. And again, so the devs know this. They know that from stage 40 and up of Ultron and from stage, 25 and up of Gore, you can't even use tier 3 characters, let alone native tier 3 characters. You cannot use them because they don't do enough damage. So what was the point for Gore? Okay, make him for PvP, but then you don't give him iframe ignore. So what are you guys doing? Look at this damage, guys. Can you see the bar just crawling along? Like this is hilariously slow. And remember, Gore is World Boss Legend 4, Ultron is World Boss Legend 3. So there's a completely mixed message that they're sending here. Gore is stronger than Ultron when you fight him, but they're both useless when you unlock them as uniforms or as characters. And I'd much rather pay 1,000 crystals to find out that something is useless or just whatever than spending 200 million gold and 3,000, 4,000 CCF and a bunch of other materials. So yeah, that's basically the review for Gore. If you have Mephisto already, or if you just have any level 80, literally any level 80 character, they will be better than Gore. So there is literally no point for PvE to building this character. Even if they gave him 10% Pierce, it's just not enough. He needs way more for PvE, and honestly, I would much rather him be for PvP, because we need new blood in PvP, and he has the rest of the kit for it. He has the healing, he has the revive, he has all the rest of the stuff for PvP, and honestly, it would just be cool seeing him kill people with the sword, right? We have enough sword characters for the content and stuff like that, right? So I honestly think the devs should just admit that they made a mistake, buff him, give him better stats than Null. By the way, if you needed any further proof that this was a joke, you can go ahead to the Marvel Universe tab and find out that when you get him to level 70 and you compare his stats, 47,100 HP and 16,500 physical attack. And then you cycle over to Null and you're like, nah, he's not going to have 17,100 HP. Oh, he's not going to have 16,500. His stats are exactly the same. So you're telling me you released Null in 2021, and then you released Gore at the end of 2022, and they have the same stats? And Null is the easiest World Boss Legend, and Gore is the hardest World Boss Legend? This comes down to, and once again reflects, the devs' inability to connect difficulty and challenge to rewards. Why should players suffer? Why should players invest the extra mile, the extra miles to get Gore if he has the same stats as Null? At this point, it's painfully clear that Gore is not worth the resources at all. So whether you're in the camp of players who haven't gotten him yet, yay, or in the camp of players who already invested, ugh, what you need to do is the same thing. We have one goal: get the devs to buff Gore. So all you have to do, go to social media, go to MFF, go to the MFF page for Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, forums, whatever. Be polite and just tell them straight up, buff Gore, or hashtag buff Gore. Whatever you want to say, make Gore meta. That's what we used for Thena. Make Thena meta. Anything you can do is going to help. And there is a possibility, like I said at the beginning of the video, that nothing is going to be done. And I've already made peace with that, and I hope you do too. But I'm still optimistic, given that we've been in this fight for over 7 years, and we've gotten so many characters reworked, most recently and most notably Thena, that we can probably and hopefully do it again. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you on social media, giving it to the devs, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.